everybody. Today we got a really exciting guest on, so we're going to have lots of fun with Jordan, and I'm going to let you tell all about yourself and your company here in a minute. So we're looking at this from a lens of cannabis investors and even founders, an inside look at capital raising with the Panther Group. Many cannabis companies and even CBD hemp are in some stage of startup, from companies that are just an idea to those that have been up and running for a while. One major role accountants play in helping startups is raising capital. Because cannabis is highly complex, investors are hyper aware of the compliance pitfalls these companies can fall into. Today, we're speaking with Jordan of the Panther Group, which is both an investor and a cannabis. I'll let you describe. Is it more of a private equity or VC fund? But definitely providing a lot of support to both investors and founders. Whatever stage in that capital raising process you are. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and your company as well, so I didn't butcher all the things you guys can probably do.
Sure, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Yeah, so Panther Group has been in the cannabis space since 2014. We started out as a venture capital fund. We had our first fund in 2015, and then our second fund in 2017. In total, we've invested now in 35 companies, probably about 80% ancillary companies, 20% plant touching. One of the things that makes us unique is we are very active. So board observer position in more than half of the companies we've invested in. And that really took us to early 2020 when we had fully deployed the second fund. We saw an opportunity to really lean in to our portfolio companies and continue to help them with the capital raising, strategic business advisory, data-driven, digital advertising, and a number of other services that we're able to offer to our portfolio companies and clients.
Well, and that's a great, and you actually, I think, answered part of the next question we were going to ask about. How does Panther Group help foster budding cannabis businesses that are just starting out, which you've just said a lot of that. And so you all play a pretty deep role. Are you mainly at the front end, or do you foresee in 3 to 5 years, you're going to be helping lots of companies with exits and M&A and public work?
Yes. Yeah, it's a great question. So we for sure see ourselves as a group that we expect to be with companies for the life cycle of our investment. So we typically get involved in Series C, Series A rounds. Most of the companies we are involved in are revenue producing companies that have proven some product market fit, have traction, and generally know how they make money and just need more additional fuel, whether it's sales and marketing, more people, more investment in the product, expansion into new markets, et cetera. So, there's obviously unlimited uses of capital. That's another thing we can help with is, as you guys do, helping really make smart decisions about how to deploy capital, because it's a very finite resource.
All right, well, that's awesome. So you all will be that full life cycle. And just as you were talking, that is when I think high tech, the life cycle is usually, for a lot of investors, 5 years or less. Do you think that's kind of the same general length of most companies?
Yeah, so I would say, realistically, it's, from the time we get involved, it's a minimum of 5 years, probably more like 7 to 8 years in terms of from the time we get involved to when an exit occurs. We're obviously pushing for that to happen sooner than later, but there's usually a natural maturation that the company needs to go to. They're raising money. They need to, again, prove out their model even more so. Then they need to typically expand into new markets and show why they're going to be a going concern for a long time. Maybe beef up some of their technology, or increase their GMV, whatever it is, to ensure that 3 to 5 years from that point they're positioned for an exit.
Now, and talking about money, because Yeah, they're all looking for it, and you've already hinted that there's a lot of capital out there. What is the current market like for cannabis founders that are trying to get investors? I personally, and you probably have too, saw some deals that I was just blown away with because I've been involved in startups for 20 years, and usually investors are very meticulous, even small angel funds, and they do tons of due diligence, and they're very, very careful about where they place their money. But in cannabis, I was continuously shocked
Mm.
that, oh, you gave them money and you gave them $10 million and they don't even have an accountant and much less reporting. And I would see some things that were, I think that's changing now, but tell me kind of what
Oh yeah.
you're seeing in the market right now.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So the good thing is being in the space since 2014, we've seen this from the origin of Colorado becoming the first legal market, and to now where we are. So there's no question there was irrational exuberance in 2016, 17, when things were flying high, everything was going public in the Canadian Securities Exchange. And then very quickly, the public companies, first and foremost, did not deliver on the expectations of the investors. And so the industry suffered a lot of mistrust from investors. And I talk to investors every single day who are, who were in your position that you described, where they made 3 or 4 bets. And now they obviously regret, where they placed their money, and they're hesitant to get back in. So the number one most important thing that we view, our job as stewards of trying to bring in capital into companies is you have to build the trust of the investor. Whether it's showing them that the company has the right financial pieces in place, whether it's they have an accountant, CFO like you guys, whatever it is, but there's certain requirements that just need to be there. Yeah, that's kind of it's definitely matured the industry. Another thing that's happened is this idea of just flowing money into early stage startups, and they'll continue to be able to raise money until they figure out how to make money, doesn't fly anymore at all. There's almost no cases of that. So you've got to very clearly show how you're going to make money, how you're going to get to profitability. If you can't show in your business model how you're going to make profitability, it's been very, very difficult, if impossible, to receive investment at this point.
Well, and that reminds me of a startup I was dealing with early on, and they actually had a good team and a good farm, and they raised several $1,000,000, but they still went under, and their model looked great and showed a lot of profit, but that was the problem. It was only based on one set of price parameters, and cannabis is a commodity, and also production parameters that didn't pay out. So kind of the same question, and you hit on some of this. What are major keys investors are looking for in terms of accounting, tax, and reporting? One thing we try to help on Dope CFO side is, one, get the books cleaned up. We build what we call a permanent audit trail every month, so that their clients' books are auditable. They can be tied out from transactions through what we call our trial balance tie out into our month-end cost accounting, and then into their financials. Most aren't even doing cost accounting at all, much less doing it wrong. They just don't have the know-how. They don't have the tools. They don't have the skills that people in our program have. But are there any specific things you all look at when they are investing? So if I put on my investor hat, I'm not investing in a company unless I know they got good corporate governance, good controls, good CFO or accountants on the company as well, and really good reporting. I don't want to see
Yes.
just snippets of, here's our revenue this quarter and we beat it, but we lost 10 million.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, all the things you mentioned. I mean, you honestly, them better than I do in some ways of what needs to be there to, have a proper accounting setup. But what you're talking about is exactly that, which is that there needs to be assurance from the investor standpoint that the company knows exactly what's going on their books, and that they can explain it. And the thing is you're a startup. You have limited capital, so it's always tempting to, shortchange in certain areas. Maybe it's accounting, but that's that's the lifeblood of the business. That's why I went and got an accounting degree, because I knew that at the end of the day, the only thing that you're gonna, be able to count on as a business is if you can make sure that the top line, less, expenses, is equaling the positive number. So, with that being said, it's very hard to turn that on, like you said, and recreate it. So the importance of bringing a solid team on in the beginning, and dope CFO, you guys have programs where you can work with early stage companies and scale it up as time. So it's not something that needs to be so cost prohibitive, but not taking care of it turns off a conversation immediately. You cannot have a conversation with an investor if the people you're talking to don't understand their numbers and can't explain them, and challenge, like you said, the assumptions. Assumptions are, we all know they're going to be wrong, but you have to explain them. You have to say why this is it, because people are looking to understand what's behind the assumptions. How are you thinking about it? What are you protecting against? Because those are the things as investors, we can't run the business. So we have to, at the end of the day, trust and believe that the management team knows what they're doing. And, the finances is a major part. That will separate, someone who knows what they're doing from someone who doesn't.
And that's a great point. And you basically answered the other question that I was going to ask about, a missing piece. And you're talking about having the right advisors and team, et cetera. I think another deal we saw early on was, Joe or Sally wants to raise money, and they're an amazing grower. They can grow the best pot ever, but they've never run a company before. And so having those on that side as well involved. One other question I wanted to ask is, what do you believe is the projected trend for capital raising in the space, as so many states are quickly jumping on board? It's kind of getting crazy on the East Coast, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it's there's a lot of excitement. I would definitely, contrast this to the irrational exuberance, right? Because the excitement from new people who are coming into space is really just a realization that, this is not, the cannabis industry is not going away.
Yeah, that's awesome with seeing all the money flow into the space, and seeing even some big name deals go wrong, like MedMen, and being like, wow, these people were just running a frat house basically, and they still got people to give them hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's like, I think those days are long gone, but we're going to see much more capital. And even you see things kind of on the old school. I saw like Kraft macaroni and cheese. They closed I think a $20 million deal with a software POS for cannabis system. And so you start to see these companies are ready to jump in as well.
Yeah,
Exactly. Wait till all the pharmaceuticals get here. I'm sure they're going to be coming. So this was a great talk. I just think, yes, we're going to see capital continue to flow in. We talk a lot about Texas. I like to kid. I'm from Oklahoma. We always have a rivalry with Texas, but I'm like, they've got so many people down there. It's our number 2 state in population, so much capital, so much oil and gas money, which is where I was before. And those people love to take risk and roll the dice. So we're going to see states like that come on, and New York passed. So that'll be biggie as well. So tell us how we will have all these links on our site, but also how can listeners get in touch with you if they're planning a capital raise or exit or whatever it is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we always love talking to new businesses and learning what's happening in the space. So you could definitely visit our website, panthergroup.co, or you could email info@panthergroup.co. And then we also, on our website, you can sign up for our ecosystem, join as an investor or as a company, and start receiving some educational materials, and just kind of hearing what Panther is doing in the space.
That's awesome. And actually, I just signed up this morning for that email
Oh,
ecosystem.
good.
So, and I love to, I've done this for years, just pay attention to, what companies are raising money? What do their ideas look like? Um, we kind of pitch to our, so on the accounting side, just a side note, we'll get business owners coming to us say, and all they want to talk about is how to beat the tax code and how to beat 280E. And we're kind of pitching the same message you're pitching. Like, you want to build a great company with a great product, build your brand, grow your revenue, get market share, be well funded. Those are the key questions, not beating 280E. You could actually have a net loss every single year, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and still have a home run. And if you don't believe me, just go look at Tilray's valuation, or someone else who's losing money hand over fist, but worth a lot of money. So
Yeah,
awesome.
we're not encouraging that. We're encouraging good, sound fundamentals. There are very few Tilrays. There's a lot more companies that run out of money. So
yeah. So you got to be well funded, and hope,
yeah.
and you'll have and I was in oil and gas for so long. You'll have these up and downs because you've got the commodity price component, or you are subject to things like farming or storms or fires burning the crop down. So it's not for the faint of heart. But okay, so the last question: do you have any final advice for listeners who may be interested in helping clients with capital raise? So like accountants and business owners or bookkeepers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think what I always tell people is, this industry, I say a rising tide raises all ships. So if we, if you have a trusted partner that like whether it's, like if you're an accountant and you're working with a PR firm, like good people follow good people. So just try to find good partners, whether it's even in this space, like you could find other accounting firms that are regionally focused and you're regionally focused, and you can work together. Like, there's no limit to the way that that as good people who want to build up this industry the right way, what we can do together, help each other out. It all comes around. So, with that, I'll say join us in Vegas in October. We'll be doing an MJ Unpacked as one of our portfolio companies. So a shameless plug for them, bringing together retailers and brands. And so
cool.
It's an interesting evolution of the space that now, MJ Biz has gotten so popular and so just interesting, and so much happening there that there's a need to kind of branch off and set up kind of specific shows that are geared towards specific people. So that's one of the things that Panther Group prides ourselves on is bringing together the right people in the right room, to better cannabis businesses.
Yeah, that's a huge need as we move forward. So, well, thank you so much for being on here. That was perfect. And if anyone wants more information, Dope CFO, just head over to our website, dopecfo.com, and you can find us there.